Hi there! We're going to be making pretzels today, and we've modified a couple of recipes to be able to make them dairy-free, or actually lactose-free. I have a son that's lactose-free, so a lot of the recipes that I do, I've modified to be able to make them lactose-free so he can enjoy them with the family just as much as everybody else. We have some lactose-free milk that we're bringing up to 110 to 120 degrees. And we have a thermometer here so we can check that. And it's just about there. This is going to be a yeast dough. So when we add our yeast, we need to make sure that the temperatures are good because that's how the yeast blooms. We're there, so we're gonna add our milk, just regular lactose-free milk, into our stand mixer. And then we're gonna add 2 packages of the active dry yeast. And we're gonna actually sprinkle those over the top so then we can make sure that they're going to bloom and that we don't have bad yeast. So we're gonna give those a couple of minutes to activate. And some of the ingredients that we have, we're gonna make a sweeter pretzel. We're going to add some brown sugar, and then we're going to add some flour and salt mixture, and then a little bit of butter. So we're going to bring this up and we're gonna stir it in just a little bit. Just to get that yeast a little bit more wet. And then that way we'll be able to see that it blooms before we add the rest of our ingredients. If at some point your yeast does not bloom, just go ahead and start over and buy some fresher yeast. You can see in the bowl that it's starting to bubble up a little bit. So you'll notice every once in a while we have these bubbles that come up to the top and then they pop. And that's what we're looking for, is for those bubbles to start to move. And that's the sign that our yeast is very active and it's going to be just fine, so we're going to continue on. Sugar is an activator for yeast and salt is a killer of yeast. So you always want to make sure that your sugar touches your yeast and your salt is in your flour so then it doesn't kill it right off the bat and not give you a nice risen dough. We're gonna add our 4.5 cups of total flour here. We have some bread flour and we have some all-purpose flour that we'll be adding. And then we're also gonna add 4 tablespoons of butter. Now this is gonna be a lactose-free butter because, like I said before, I modify most recipes to be lactose-free. And our butter was melted and then we let it cool a little bit. And we're gonna have the rest of that butter because we're gonna use it again when we actually make the pretzels themselves. We'll turn the mixer up a little bit. To where it actually comes together as one big ball of dough. Now as it starts to come together, you may see that it gets a little sticky. No need to worry. We're just gonna add a little bit more flour here and there until it becomes a nice cohesive ball. It's not gonna take much extra flour. Now you could make this without a stand mixer. When it comes to the kneading part though, you'll need to knead that on a floured surface by hand. We're using the stand mixer and it'll actually do the kneading for us. So we've added about a 1/2 cup of extra flour to get it to where it's come together nicely. So we've actually added about a cup of extra flour. And now the dough is on a kneading cycle. It needs to knead for about 5 to 6 minutes. Now it has come together, and we're actually getting it ready to be able to take it out of the bowl. So we're going to take this out of the bowl, and it's very aerated at this point. We're going to put a little bit of flour on our work surface, and we're going to take it out, and it just kind of sticks to itself at this point. And it's a little sticky. We do live in the South, so we have more humidity than a lot of the country does. So our items are going to take a little bit more flour than what a recipe tends to call for. Don't not make it because of that. You just have to modify a few things. And we're kneading it by hand. And then we've got a oiled bowl here, and I like to use vegetable oil for my pretzel dough because it doesn't have any flavor. Now we're gonna put this into a well-oiled bowl. You're gonna put it in, slide it around, and then flip it over, and then we're gonna cover it with some plastic wrap, and it's gonna rest for about an hour or until it's doubled in size. See you on the other side. Welcome back. Somebody woke up from their nap, so she may or may not cooperate. Huh. Yeah. So, we have our pretzel dough, which has doubled in size. Doesn't that look yummy? Yeah. And we're gonna push it down, and then we're gonna take it out. Oh, it's still warm too. Feels so good. I highly recommend one of these pastry mats. It keeps things from sticking to your counters. They're very helpful. Okay, we're gonna try to put her down. There we go. Okay. Now, if I was making individual pretzels, I would divide this into equal amounts, 12, 15, however many you would like to make. But my family's not a big fan of the pretzel itself. They like pretzel bites more. So actually what we're gonna do is we're just gonna roll this out, and then we're going to just cut it into bite-sized pieces. And once you get it into the bite-sized piece that you want it to be, you dip it into a mixture of baking soda and warm water. And you're just gonna dip it in there, and then you're gonna put it on your baking tray. And we're gonna do that with the rest of them until the dough is gone. This is probably the most time-consuming part of the whole process. Once you get them onto the baking tray, then you can top them with whatever you want to top them with. We have some cinnamon and sugar that we can use here. The cinnamon and sugar is kind of the favorite of our family. So you can use the cinnamon and sugar on them. And you want to do this while your dough is still wet from the baking soda and the water, because it just helps it adhere better. And then we'll do some with some salt. We use flake salt. It's a little bit thicker or bigger pieces than regular salt, and it has a real salty flavor to it that's kind of what you are accustomed to for most pretzels. And then we also have some cherry wood smoked salt as well, and that's really good too. It gives it a different type of flavor. So like I said, we're just gonna continue to do this with the rest of the dough. We're gonna put them all on our baking sheet, and then we're gonna bake them for about 12 minutes at 450 degrees. Wow. 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 Pretzels are always fun because you can really just top them to your liking. You don't have to follow any directions as far as any particular way that they're supposed to be done. You can do them any way you want to. You can make them salty sweet, just salty. There's no wrong way to do it. We'll put these in our 450-degree oven and continue on with the rest of our dough. And if you remember correctly, we've made these we've made these completely lactose free. When they come out of the oven and before we put some more toppings on them, we're gonna put some melted butter on them. And that again is going to be a lactose free butter. You wanna see some dough? Yeah. There's nothing in this dough that can hurt her, so she is okay. Even if she ends up sticking it in her mouth, she will be just fine. We're gonna sprinkle these with cinnamon and sugar because that's kind of our favorite. So our pretzels have come out of the oven and we're just going to brush some butter onto each one of them as they come out, just to keep them from getting too dry. Nobody wants a dry pretzel. And then once we've buttered them all, we can add any other toppings that we want. So in this case, on some of them, we're gonna put some caramel sauce on it. And then on some of them, we're gonna put some chocolate sauce on it with a little bit of chipotle powder. Kind of gives you that Mexican style chocolate. There it goes. Now these are not going to last long with our family. So typically we just put them on a plate in the kitchen. And the kids come along and they just eat them as they walk through the kitchen. A little bit of chipotle for that salty, sweet spice. And there you have it. Pretzels made at home, lactose free.